Okay, so yesterday we talked about how to solve a multi-step equation. And we went through all of the steps, and so some of you may be wondering, well, how in the world do I know that that step actually works, that makes this true? And so what we're going to talk about today is called properties of equality. And all these are the justification that we use, or the reasoning behind why we can make the shifts and the moves that we do on an equation. Okay? And so here are the equality properties that we're going to talk about. Addition, meaning if I add something to one side, then I have to add it to the other. That's an equality property. Subtraction, same thing. We're just subtracting. Multiplying, multiplication property of equality means I multiply one thing on the left, then I have to multiply it on the right side of the equation. It's equality. It's a balancing act. Same thing with division. And then the distributive property is one that you are aware of, okay? Now, anytime we combine like terms or we simplify something, then that is another reasoning that we can use. So combine like terms, or if you want to, you can just write it as simplify. That's also a justification. Now, it's not a property, but it is a reasoning for why we do some things that we do, okay? So this will be additional practice for us as we work through these problems, as well as letting us kind of use these properties. So we're going to do a couple of examples, and then I'm going to let you guys kind of finish these out on your own. I will do, we'll do evens today, okay? We'll do the evens, and then you can finish out the odds on your own, and then that way you have what you need. And then there's actually another there's another practice set of questions for you to complete online. There is a task card set that you're going to complete, and it's already been uploaded, and so that will also be extra practice for this multi-step equations. All right, so that way you've got plenty of opportunities to practice how to do these. Okay, so let's start. We said we're going to do number 2 first. So number 2, we have a given equation, okay? Now, to solve this equation, the first thing that we do is we want to move this 10. So to move the 10 from the left side to the right side, we are going to want to subtract it, okay? And so what that leaves us with is step 2, where we have subtracted it and it canceled out over here, and it became negative 11 over here. And so because we subtracted from the left side, we also subtracted from the right side. And so the property that justifies that is called the subtraction property of equality. Okay? And now the next step, we have m is being divided by negative 3. So to get rid of that division, we want to multiply by negative 3, both sides. And so if I multiply the left side, I have to multiply the right side to keep it equal. And so what happens is this becomes 1, and so we have 1m. And over here, that negative 11 times that negative 3 becomes a positive 33. And so because I multiplied both sides by the same number, that is called the multiplication property of equality. So it seems pretty simple. We're going to keep going with this. You would continue this process with numbers 1 and 3. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip to number 4 and do that one together. So in number 4, here we have 10k minus 4 is equal to 2k minus 20. So remember the multi-step equation steps. First is to distribute. There's nothing here to distribute. Second step is to combine like terms, and there's nothing over here to combine. There's nothing over here to combine. But the third step is to move the variables to one side. So I do need to move the variables. So to move this 2k over here, I'm going to have to subtract it to get rid of it and subtract it from here. And when I do that, I'll be left with 8k over here and the negative 4. This 2k is gone because it's been moved, and we're left with negative 20. And so because I subtracted, again, this is going to be considered the subtraction property of equality. Okay? All right, and then from here, we have a two-step equation. So we know that we got to get rid of this negative 4. So to do that, we're going to add it. It gets rid of it over here. We're left with 8k. And over here, negative 20 plus 4 becomes negative 16. And so because we added to both sides, we use the addition property of equality. Okay, and then the last step over here, we want to get rid of this multiplication, so we are going to divide both sides by 8. Leaves me with a 1k over here, and it leaves me with negative 2 over here. And because we divided from both sides, we are calling that the division property of equality. So nothing too terrible here. All right. Okay, and so then we are going to skip number 5. You're going to do it on your own, and then we will move to number 6. So on number 6 here, first step in all multi-step equations is to distribute. And in this case, we do have some stuff to distribute. We have a negative 8 and we have a negative 5. Both need to be distributed. And so when I multiply the negative 8 times w, I get negative 8w. When I multiply negative 8 times 1, I get negative 8. When I multiply negative 5 times 4, I get negative 5w. And when I multiply negative 5 times 10, I get negative 50. And so because I distributed to get that, okay, we're going to call that the distributive property. All right. Now from here, second step is always to combine like terms, but we don't have any combining to do. So we're going to skip to the third step, which is to move our variables to one side. So in this case, we're moving our variables to the right. So I'm going to add this 5w to get rid of it, and I'm going to add it over here. And so when I move it over here, I'm left with negative 50 on the right side, and on the left side, negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. Okay, and because I added, it is the addition property of equality. Okay. All right, and then from there, we have a nice two-step equation. I want to get rid of this negative 8, so I'm going to add it again. Okay, and when I add it, this goes away, leaves me negative 3w over here. This becomes negative 42, and again, it's the addition property of equality that allowed me to do that. And then the last step, I have a division here, so to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by negative 3. On this side, I'm left with w. On this side, I'm left with a positive 14. And because I divided both sides, we call this the division property of equality. Okay, so just good practice. You're going to complete, remember the odds on this, 1, 3, 5, and 7. If you get stuck on anything, just let me know, but mostly you're just looking at these properties of equalities. Don't forget there is the distributive property to use as well. And there's also the combining like terms or simplifying, whichever way you want to write it. You can either write it as combining like terms or simplifying if you come across anything like that. Okay, so use that as good practice. Don't forget you also have some additional practice problems in the form of some task cards that need to be completed. So those have already been uploaded. Make sure you get those completed and turned in as soon as possible. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be glad to help.